The night my wife told me our marriage needed a pause. I had 2 plane tickets to Banff, sitting on the kitchen counter. I'd been planning it for weeks. We hadn't taken a real trip since before the pandemic, and I thought, this is it. This is the reset we need. The Rockies in October. 4 nights at a lodge, near Lake Louise. I'd already arranged the time off work, already called her favorite restaurant in Canmore to make a dinner reservation. She came home late from one of her weekend wellness retreats. I heard her key in the lock, and I remember thinking, 2 more days, and we'll be on a plane. I had the tickets right there, face up on the granite counter we'd picked out together at the Home Depot on Queensway. She didn't notice. Sam. She set her bag down, poured herself a glass of water, and sat at the kitchen table. Not on the couch where we'd normally settle in after she got home. The table. Like she was at a job interview. Something was already wrong. I just didn't know the shape of it yet. She said my name the way you say it. When what comes next is going to hurt. She told me she needed space. Not a separation, she was careful about that word. A pause. 3 months, she said, to figure out who she was as outside of us. I didn't say anything for a moment. I looked at the tickets on the counter. Then back at her. 3 months. Like a seasonal lease on our marriage. I asked her what that meant. Practically speaking. Did she want me to move out? No, she said. She would stay with her sister. She said it as if the logistics made it less devastating. Then she said the sentence, I will never unhear for the rest of my life. If I come back, I want it to be because I chose you, not because I ran out of time. She said it like it was generous. Like she was offering me something. I asked her quietly, if there was someone else. She looked at the table. There was a man from the retreats. Someone she'd met at one of the weekend workshops up near Collingwood. She said it wasn't physical. She said they had a connection. She said she needed to understand what that meant before she could be fully present in our marriage. We'd been together 7 years. Married for 3. We had a condo in Etobicoke, a joint RRSP account, a Costco membership, and a blue IKEA couch we'd argued about assembling, and then laughed about for years afterward. I had carried her through a job loss in 2021. She had sat with me in emergency at Trillium Health when my dad had his first cardiac event. We had built something real. Piece by piece. The way you do when you actually mean it. And she was telling me she needed 3 months to audition someone else. I was very still. Then I said, then we're done. She looked up. That's not what I'm saying. I know what you're saying. I'm telling you what I mean. Her expression shifted, surprise, then frustration, then something close to disbelief, as if I'd missed the point, as if I'd read the script wrong. You're not even going to give me a chance to figure this out? I almost laughed. I didn't. You asked me to wait on a shelf while you decide if someone else is worth more than 7 years. That's not giving you a chance. That's an audition I didn't sign up for. She said I was being dramatic. She said she just needed clarity. That word. Clarity. People reach for it when they want permission to be selfish, and a soft landing if it doesn't work out. I told her she should take all the clarity she needed. But she should take it knowing that when she came back, if she came back, there would be nothing left to return to. She didn't believe me. That was her first mistake. She left that night for her sister's place in Oakville. I stood in the kitchen for a long time after the door closed. I looked at the Banff tickets on the counter. I picked them up, set them down. Then I walked to the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. The grief comes in waves. The first one doesn't always hit right away. Monday morning, I called a family lawyer in a firm downtown on King Street. She was direct, thorough, and completely unsentimental, in the way that people who deal with the end of marriages all day tend to be. She walked me through Ontario family law. We talked about the condo, the shared accounts, the separation agreement. I told her I wanted everything done properly, documented, nothing rushed. She asked how long we'd been separated. I told her since Saturday. She said to keep records of everything. I did. That same Monday, I transferred the funds I had contributed from our joint account, my paychecks, my bonuses, every direct deposit with my name attached. Not a dollar of hers. I moved it to a personal account I opened at a branch on Bloor Street before noon. I wasn't angry. I was precise. By Wednesday, her mother called. I almost didn't answer, but something in me still believed that adults could have honest conversations. She opened with, I hope you're doing okay. I said I was managing. Then she said her daughter was just going through something. A phase. She said it was normal. She said I should give her time. I asked how long she'd known. A pause. She called me a few weeks ago. She was confused. A few weeks ago. My wife had been rehearsing this conversation for weeks. She had called her mother. She had laid the groundwork. And her mother had known, said nothing to me, and had almost certainly advised patience, and had probably assumed I would come around. I said. She made a choice, and so did I. Her mother said I shouldn't punish her daughter over a mistake. I said. Deciding to treat your husband as a placeholder isn't a mistake. It's a decision. I'm not punishing her. I'm just not pretending it didn't happen. I hung up. The calls kept coming after that. Her friends. A couple we used to have dinner with in the Beaches neighborhood. Even a few of my own co-workers. People who barely knew the details. Texting things like be the bigger person. And sometimes people just need to find themselves, and real love is patient. Real love is patient. I had been patient for 7 years. Through her career pivots, her difficult months, her doubts about everything. I had been steady when she needed steady, soft when she needed soft. I had shown up, consistently without a scoreboard, because that was what I understood love to mean. And what I got in return was 3 months on hold, while she explored a connection with a man she'd met at a drumming circle in Simcoe County. I stopped answering calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Then the man himself contacted me. Not in person. A text from a number I didn't have saved. He introduced himself by name. He said he wanted me to understand that nothing inappropriate had happened. He said my wife was going through a lot, and that my behavior was making things harder for her, he said. He hoped I could find some compassion for her process. I forwarded the text to my lawyer, without responding. Then I blocked the number. At work, something unexpected started happening. I was a project coordinator at a mid-size commercial construction firm out of Mississauga. For years I had been the person who kept things moving, reliable, organized, the kind of guy who got thanked in group emails, but never seriously considered for advancement. After she left, I had nowhere to put all the energy I'd been spending on us, so I put it into the job. I stopped leaving at 5. I started reading bids I'd never paid attention to before. I got fixated on a municipal infrastructure tender that nobody else on the team wanted to touch. And spent 3 weekends building a proposal from scratch. We got the contract. My manager called me into his office in early November. He was the kind of man who didn't waste words. He said, "Whatever is happening in your personal life, channel it here. Because whatever you did on that bid, I want more of it." He offered me a senior coordinator role. More projects, better pay, a real path upward. I said yes before I sat back down. Some nights were still hard. I won't pretend otherwise. You spend 7 years building something with someone, and the shape of it stays long after they've gone. I'd reach for my phone to tell her something funny that happened on the GO train. I'd see a restaurant we used to go to and feel the absence like a bruise you keep forgetting. Is there until you bump it again. But I also started doing things I hadn't done in years. I bought a road bike and started riding along the waterfront trail on Saturday mornings. I called my dad more often. I reconnected with a coworker I'd drifted from over the pandemic. And we started watching Leafs games at a bar, near the office on Tuesday nights. Small things. But they were mine. I had the locks changed at the condo in October. My wife still had a key, and the unit was legally in both our names, but I was entitled to do it under Ontario separation law. My lawyer confirmed it. I changed them quietly, without drama. I also started therapy. I resisted it for the first few weeks. Then I stopped resisting. My therapist asked me once whether I felt like I had done something wrong. I said no. She asked why I had stayed so long in a pattern where I was always the one absorbing. I didn't have an easy answer. But the question stayed with me long after I left her office. I had confused stability with self-erasure. I had been so committed to being dependable that I had stopped checking whether I was being treated with the same care I gave. I hadn't been. And it had been true for longer than that Saturday night in our kitchen. In late November, 6 weeks into the 3 months, an email arrived from her address. Subject line, "I need to talk to you." I didn't reply, but I didn't block it either. I still don't know exactly why. Maybe I needed to see what she would say when she finally ran out of ways to soften it. She sent 3 more over the following week. Each one quieter than the last. She said she had made a mistake. She said she missed me. She said she had realized things weren't what she thought they would be. 6 weeks. She hadn't lasted half the time she'd asked for. I blocked her email. 2 weeks before Christmas. She showed up at my office building on Bay Street. I was coming back from a site visit, still in my work jacket, a Tim Hortons coffee going cold in my hand. I saw her standing near the main entrance, shorter hair, thinner, a coat I didn't recognize. When she saw me, she didn't smile. Her eyes just filled. I stopped walking. She said she was sorry. That she knew that wasn't enough. That what she had done was cruel. And she understood if I didn't forgive her. I said nothing. So. She said the man from the retreats had turned out to be exactly what she should have known he was. Someone performing depth he didn't actually have. Within a month, it had become clear he'd been pursuing her for reasons and everything to do with his own ego. He had borrowed money from her. He had lied about his work situation. He had, by the end, stopped pretending to care. I said I had figured as much. She laughed once, a short broken sound. Of course you did. Then she asked if there was any chance. I looked at her for a long moment, not with cruelty, but with clarity that was finally mine, not hers. No, I said. Her face crumpled slightly. I didn't think so. I just had to ask. She told me she'd lost everything. The connection she'd thought she had. The life she'd had with me. The version of herself she'd been trying to find. I said. You didn't lose everything. You gave it away. You looked at what we'd built and decided it wasn't worth protecting. That's not loss. That's a decision that caught up with you. She was quiet. Then she said, did you ever think I'd come back? I thought about the tickets to Banff still sitting in a drawer in the condo. I thought about Sunday mornings, and the IKEA couch and the emergency room at Trillium. The way she used to fall asleep reading with her feet tucked under my legs. I hoped. I said, that you wouldn't need to. I hoped you'd already be where you needed to be, and that where you needed to be was still with me. She had nothing left to say to that. I told her the separation agreement was nearly finalized. That my lawyer would be in touch with hers about the condo. That I had tried to be fair with everything. And I believed the paperwork reflected that. She nodded slowly. Like someone receiving news they already knew was coming. But still weren't ready to hold. She said she was sorry one more time. I told her I believed her. Then I walked through the lobby doors and into the elevator. I pressed 14. As the doors slid shut, I caught one last glimpse through the narrowing gap. Her standing in the lobby, arms at her sides, looking smaller than I had ever seen her look. The elevator rose. And somewhere between the ground floor and the 14th, something in my chest that had been pressed tight for months finally released. Not completely, not all at once, but enough. I had not destroyed her. I had not chased her. I had not kept the light on or left a key under the mat or saved her a seat at a table she had already chosen to leave. I had simply refused to be the option she returned to when the better choice didn't work out. And that refusal had given me back something I hadn't realized I'd been handing over for years. The doors opened. I walked to my desk, set down my coffee, and got back to work.